We all think we know how to read. After all, we spent years learning it. But somewhere between school assignments and adult life, we forgot what reading was really meant to do. We were taught to read for comprehension, to explain what a text means. But real reading goes further. It changes how we think, feel, and see the world. Books were never meant to just inform us. They were meant to form us, to sharpen attention, grow empathy, and give shape to our inner life. The problem isn't that school failed to teach us how to read, it's that it taught us to read under pressure. When reading is tied to grades and exams, our focus narrows. We stop reading to discover and start reading to deliver. That kind of reading builds memory but weakens curiosity. It teaches us to find the right answer, but not the better question. As Mortimer Adler wrote, most people read for information, but great readers read to think alongside the author. We don't read to finish a book, we read to be changed by it. And before we go further, here's a simple table that sums it up. How we were taught to read and how we actually should. Each of us carries at least one of these habits without realizing it. And that's exactly what makes this so important. Most of us stopped learning to read just when it started to matter most. In this video, we'll uncover how to read deeply again and why doing so can quietly change everything about how you learn, think, and grow. So how do we relearn the art of reading properly, deeply, and consciously? Let's start by clearing up one of the biggest myths about reading. You've probably seen advice online promising to double your reading speed or read a book a day. But here's the truth. Speed reading doesn't work. Research by Elizabeth Schotter and her team at UC San Diego found that the faster you move your eyes across text, the more comprehension collapses. That's because reading isn't just visual. It's cognitive. Your eyes make quick jumps called saccades, but your brain only understands meaning during brief pauses between them. No technique can bypass that biology. Marianne Wolfe, in Reader Come Home, puts it simply. Deep comprehension takes time. Your brain needs space to connect ideas, make inferences, and feel emotion. So don't force yourself to read faster. The goal isn't speed, it's understanding. As your vocabulary and background knowledge grow, your reading will naturally become faster. Not because your eyes move quicker, but because your mind connects faster. Remember, reading is thinking, not sprinting. And that brings us to something even more important. How you begin. Before diving into any book, step back and see the whole picture. Ask, what is this book really trying to do? What's the central idea, the structure, the question it's exploring? Then, as you read, attach every new idea to that larger framework. That's how comprehension deepens. Each detail gains meaning through context. Learning doesn't happen line by line. It builds in layers. Research shows that memory isn't about passive absorption. We remember better when we predict what's coming, question what we read, and stay curious about where it's leading. So don't just move through the text, interact with it. Pause and think, what might this mean? Does this align with what I already know? Why did the author say that? That simple act of curiosity turns reading from consumption into construction. It's how knowledge builds itself, layer by layer. And once you have that big picture, start connecting the dots. Don't read to gather information, read to link it. Every new idea should relate to something you already know. Ask yourself, what does this remind me of? How does this change what I already believe? That act of connection turns reading from storage into synthesis, from memorizing to meaning-making. As you read, keep one quiet question running in the background. Do I really understand this? Or am I just recognizing the words? That awareness is called metacognition, thinking about how you think. It's what separates reading words from processing meaning. And the best way to test that understanding is simple. Explain it. Try summarizing what you just read out loud or in a short note, as if you were teaching it to someone else. This is known as the Feynman Technique, and it works because teaching forces clarity. If you stumble, that's where your understanding is still forming. Pausing to rephrase turns recognition into real comprehension. It's how learning sticks. And sometimes, the best way to think aloud is right there on the page. Underline, annotate, argue in the margins. Don't treat books like fragile museum pieces. Treat them like conversation partners. As Mortimer Adler said, you do not truly own a book until you have marked it up. A marked book is a mind in motion, a record of how you grew with every read. For some kinds of reading, though, understanding comes less from analysis and more from emotion. This is especially true when reading fiction. Fiction demands that we feel to understand. Identifying with a character's emotions helps us grasp their motives, choices, and humanity. That's how stories teach empathy and self-awareness in ways facts alone can't. To read with emotion, imagine the scene as if it were happening to you. Feel before you analyze. And when a story moves you, pause. Let what you felt turn into thought. Deep reading isn't about racing to the next chapter. It's about lingering long enough to ask, what is this really saying about people, about choices, about me? And finally, the most powerful readers don't just finish books, they reflect inside them. Some books are worth meeting again because every time you return, you bring a new version of yourself. The best readers know this. They return not to repeat the story, but to rediscover it. The words stay the same, but the meaning shifts because you've changed. Rereading isn't repetition, it's reflection through time. That's how books evolve with you, becoming mirrors, companions, and lifelong teachers.